The government has failed, despite all the rhetoric it brings here today. The truth is it has failed in relation to housing. The Minister, he missed every deadline, he said. He said he would have an affordable housing bill in September. Then it was budget. Then it was the new year. Week after week, we see more infuriating stories about home buyers being locked out of ownership. The government talk on ownership, but this is thanks to the Fine Gael policy of throwing the doors wide open to the wrong kinds of investment funds. We know now that not only is the government supporting these funds through an unfair tax policy, but also taxpayer money is being used to assist in the funds buying up the homes. This comes as another slap in the face for anybody who's trying to buy a house, who is playing by the rules, who is paying sky-high rents, or who is living with a family and trying to save a deposit. It truly shows where this government's priorities lie. People expect the government to make radical decisions and interventions that support working people, Minister. Renters, first-time buyers and people in mortgage distress want a break. They want a minister who does not miss deadlines after deadline for legislation and who backs up legislation with state support. Budget 2021 only allocated 35 million for cost rental and 50 million for affordable purchase housing. People want a minister who does not break election promises. Fianna Fáil promised 10,000 affordable homes every year for 10 years in its election manifesto. Why has it abandoned that promise? So far this year, only 569 social homes have been delivered. Direct capital investment in public housing needs to be significantly wrapped up in order to meet the social and affordable demand. But I will say that Fianna Fáil's dream of 10,000 houses per year has been well overshadowed with the Taoiseach's announcement over the weekend of 40,000. Maybe he was sleep talking, I don't know, because as far as I remember, he was in government for many years as Taoiseach of our country, and he couldn't deliver a fraction of what he's talking about. So maybe it was just, you know, maybe it was a bit of dreaming or coverage. As I said, RT gave him plenty of time to talk about it, and they gave him loads of time again on Sunday to talk about it. And when we sit in here talking realistically, there's no sight of RT giving us any coverage, which is unbelievable. But the situation to think that a Taoiseach stands before our country and says he wants 40,000, sure, I could stand before any TV camera in the country and dream up. Sure, I could say we want 60,000, but we're realists on the ground. And I heard Deputy Bruton said here a while ago that we need to meet the needs for families. And I appreciate, Minister, you were here yesterday, and Minister O'Brien was here a while ago, and I was hoping he'd stay on, so that I'm not having an attack, because everybody has schedules, and I respect that. But I want to tell him about the crisis that we have in my own constituency, and I presume it's the crisis that's in every other constituency in the country too, because certainly if it isn't, we have a more serious crisis in West Cork than anywhere else, where young people, and this is what Deputy Bruton said, we need to meet the demands of families. Young people are applying for planning permission and are being refused left, right and centre. Beautiful greenfield sites, they pass the architectural rules that are there, the guidelines on the roadside, so that the council are happy with everything. And then you have scenic landscape, and you have every old cock and bull story put before them. Do you know, it's a complete and utter farce. And I was going to ask Minister Bryan, he just left a while ago, that would he consider holding a meeting between the Oireachtas members of Cork County and himself with the planners in Cork County. We need to set a new stand for the people in West Cork. They need to be assured that if they do a pre-planning and tick a lot of the fair boxes out there, that are not going to be cut in the unfair boxes. Its planning is now a no-go area, and to think that the government have left it go to that, it's only putting further pressure in social housing in my own constituency. Excuse me, Gordon. And I'm very, very strong, and I feel like, I said it yesterday, we had a very peaceful protest up here yesterday in relation to the fishermen in this country, and they're angered. They're angered at the attack on their livelihoods in rural Ireland, and angered also at the smaller farmers. But to think that young people are making such gallant efforts, and it doesn't matter what's in Kinsale. I have lists of people in Bandon, down into Skull, down into Castletownbere, Drimoleague, Dunmanway, Skibbereen, Dunman, and Bantry. and banded, and they're being continuously, they identify the right sites, they do everything by the book, they want to get their lives off to a start, they want to take out a mortgage, they can do that, they try to do everything by the book, and not to be a burden on the state, and the state continues to inflict the most serious of refusals before them. And our rural independent group, and we're very lucky to have a TD to the calibre of Richard O'Donoghue here from Limerick, who gives us very good and strong advice, because he's from the construction sector and he certainly knows more about planning than any one of us would in the rural independent. But I certainly will be listening and talking to him, but I think we need to take matters further. And if it means, Minister, if it means that we have to converge and block up Dublin City, because that's the only language that seems to know, I mean, in the fishing crisis we had a whole 7 or 8 months, and when there was a protest heading to Dublin on Tuesday, the Taoiseach decided to act on it over the weekend and meet the fishing industry. Is that the only kind of language you know? Why, in the name of God, can't you work towards solutions and not create a crisis point for people? That's the issue here, and I'll fight tooth and nail for every young person that wants to get planning in my rural community, and I want the planners to be taken into account, and I want it to work it all the way up to the top level of government until these people will get the planning in a fair way, once their architectural design is perfect, once the council are okay. To hell with the other stupid rules that are put there, because they're not realistic rules. They're only a policy from a certain party with a very few deputies in the country, and they certainly are wagging the tail. And I won't stand for it in my constituency. And if it means we'll have to head to Dublin again, we'll head there. And we'll bloody well, sorry, pardon my language, we will make serious efforts to put the people's rural planning as a forefront, maybe in the next election, because it certainly is a massive issue in my own constituency. We look at county development plans. What are we doing? Why are we putting together county development plans? I can guarantee you, if I have the chance, and I don't get the chance to sit down to look at what plans are for Ballinadee, what plans are for Balladahab, what plans are in the county development plan for the rural towns and villages of West Cork. They're planning in another 6 houses here, or 18 houses there, and 20 houses here. And the next thing we hear, like places like Ballinspittle, where we have good, genuine people willing to put sewage plants and extend sewage plants, a place close to Cork City where development could take place, where there's great businesses in towns and villages, and they're being refused to do the work. They'll do the work for Irish Water when Irish Water can't do the work. We look at Clonakilty, an area that's now rapidly running out of water. No development, no funding whatsoever. We're okay as long as the rain keeps falling. But if we have a dry summer, we'll have a hungry and dry people of Clonakilty because they won't get water. And that's the simple facts that we're facing and the crisis that we're facing. And this government has shut their minds to the real issues, because it's a rural Ireland issue, because it's an issue in West Cork. It's secondary. But if it's an issue up here that there's someone going to do without a cup of water in Dublin, there'll be a crisis. And we'll have to talk about it here for the whole day or two to resolve the situation. And we also look at the situation, and I've always looked at rural development and development towns and villages in County Cork, in beautiful places like Dumalig or Allihies or Iries or anywhere you want to go, Baltimore, where there's, and Skull and Baltimore, where there's houses and beautiful empty houses in towns and villages, living over the shop. No proper grants have made available so that the people could come to live in these beautiful rural communities, whether it is Dunmanway or wherever it is, Ballineen. They're fabulous communities to live. They have massive facilities that no town or city has. And you continue to refuse to give them proper funding to build their towns and build their villages. They have houses, they have the best of shops, they have the best of community centres and the best of schools, right throughout West Cork. And no investment, and people want to leave the cities and come to live there. They want to leave the cities and get planning permission in the rural communities. And it's crisis in the cities because he can't cope with it. We can cope with it, but we won't be given the opportunity because you have your mind set on closing rural Ireland. There's also difficulties there's a massive lack, of course, of social housing. I'll be doing clinics all over West Cork today, tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. And 80% of the people who come before me are pleading, crying inside my offices for houses, literally crying. And that's a scandal in this day and age when there's possibilities out there and there's solutions. And the solution, Minister, is rural Ireland. And I know you're blanked out, you don't understand it at all, because he hadn't a clue where rural Ireland is, but it's beyond the red cow. And my God, that red cow is a huge red cow because he blinded. And I'm telling you, Minister, we'll keep your eyes open and wake up. The solution is in rural Ireland to housing crisis, and I'm pleading with you to work with me towards that solution. Thank you.